Cynthia Rothrock, thanks so much for being on the show. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, pretty good. Nice to be chatting with you here.
Yes, well, I'm going to get the talk about the elephant in the room straight away because we have met twice before, but I don't think you would remember because it was many moons ago. But
Well, the
I have
picture,
something here. And I don't know which time was first, but do you remember going to Blockbuster Video in Birmingham, England?
yes, kind of. I kind of do.
So that was a Blockbuster Video that I ended up working at and renting many of your movies from. But I met you at Blockbuster Video, and I told you that I was going to be in the movies, and there you signed it, and you wrote, "See you in the movies."
Uh-huh.
Now let me
I kind of
show
remember
you
that.
this.
I thought that was, I didn't remember it was at a video store, but I thought it was at the convention that we were at because I remember that. And I remember, you had a great look and I was like, yeah, see, there you go. Now I'm watching you. Now I'm your fan watching
This
you
was
in
the
the movie.
convention.
Oh my
It was
God,
in
look at that.
Birmingham, yeah.
Wow.
Now you just said that you thought I had a good look. I'm not sure that you meant that, did you? Because I'm not looking my best in those days.
Yeah. Your jacket is like really fitting, but
Yeah.
look at me then too. Look at
Oh,
the
you look
blonde
great,
bob.
as always. But I've got my Taekwondo t-shirt on because I want people to know that I'm all about the martial arts. But in this one as well, you signed it, "See you in the movies." Now, let me ask you this. Did anyone who told you, "I want to get into the movies," if anyone said that to you, did you always sign, "I'll see you in the movies"? Or was it
No,
just
I
for me?
didn't. No, because you know what? Not that many people said that, but I don't know. Maybe it was like a little sixth sense or something. You could pick up on people. It probably was the way the conversation that we had. Yeah, no, I don't. I haven't written that too many times.
Oh, good.
But I'm
Well,
I'm I'm so impressed you have that after all those years. How many years ago was that? Jeez.
yeah, I've kept it. And you know what? I was looking for it today and I couldn't find it. I was like, God damn it, I've kept it all these years. And the day that I need it, I can't find it. But then I found it eventually. Big fan. Always have been. You are, and I'm telling you the truth now. I'm not blowing smoke or anything like that. In my opinion, there is no lady that has done it better than you, still to this day. I've never seen a female martial artist kick with the precision and the power that you did, and I'm sure still do. It was absolutely incredible. And to do it in the Hong Kong film industry, no harder place to go and do it, but you were given as good as you got with all the people that you were surrounded by. Amazing, amazing stuff. Cynthia, can you tell us how you got started in martial arts?
Well, how I got started in martial arts, I was 13 and I lived in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And I had a girlfriend that her parents were studying martial arts and they owned a health club. And I was always kind of like an out of the box kind of kid. Anything that was different, I wanted to do. And on Sundays, the salon that they had was closed and they had this big exercise room. So my friend and I would go and do rolls and we'd play around and they would come and they would practice their karate. I remember they were white belts and they had the karate uniform on. And I was looking at it going, wow, that is so cool, especially the uniform. I was like, I want a belt and I want a uniform. And they're like, yeah, you can learn how to defend yourself with your hands and feet. So I went home. I told my mom, I said, I want to sign up for karate. She's like, what? What is that? And she signed me up for 4 months at the Scranton Karate School.
And how old were you then? Sorry.
I was 13, but the interesting thing is I didn't like it. I hated it. I was like the
Mhm.
only girl in the class. I was 13 and I remember shouting and punching and I was like, oh, I felt intimidated by all the men around me. On my second class, the instructor had me spar. And it was with a woman that was a black belt and she hit me in the head with a roundhouse kick, almost knocked me out,
Oh
tears
no.
coming out of my eyes. I'm going, oh, I'm not liking this because I didn't know how to block. And I was like, certainly don't be blocking with your head. And then the next day I went to class, when you break a board, right, it's easy to break if you hit in the middle, but once you broke the board, you have that small half. It's very difficult to break. Anyone has a
Yeah.
hard time breaking that. And I just learned the front kick and they said, try to break this board. And I almost broke my toe. And I thought, I said, oh, I am really like hating this. So we used to
It
have
sounds
this.
like you were at Cobra Kai or something like that.
I was like that, right? I mean, those days, I mean, training in that time was like a bizarre. It's not like it is today. And once I started practicing, I started getting better. And when I started getting better, I felt comfortable. And then I tested for orange belt and I entered my first competition, and it was all women. There was no ranking. So whether you studied, at that time I was studying 5.5 months, and it was white belt to black belt, one division. And I took second place. The black belt took first, the black belt took third. And I thought from that point on, I'm going to be the best in this sport and I'm going to train so hard. And then from that point on, my whole attitude was changed and my whole life was, you know, laid out for me on a martial art path.
Do you think you were a natural?
You know what? I don't say I was a natural because it was very difficult. I mean, when we're doing basic one, it's just that turn, right? I couldn't even get that, but I was flexible, which was good.
Yeah.
So that gave me, and I was very, you know, once I put my mind to it, I was very determined to get it. And then once I started picking that up, it became natural for me. But
Do you
right in the
think you've
beginning,
got fast twitch muscle fibers? Do you think you're quite explosive? Are you a fast runner?
no, I'm not really.
No, well, because you're very explosive with your movements. Yeah, you can kick quick. Not many ladies have that, I don't think.
Well,
So
you know, I mean, I went all over the place. I studied in New York City. I studied in Hong Kong. I studied in China. I studied in Vietnam. And I was just driven to do the best I could. I did some gymnastics. I did some ballet classes, anything I could do to make my martial arts better. And I'm very, you know, I think about it like, okay, how am I going to get my kicks stronger? I'd put weights on my legs. I would do slow exercises, you know, and you know, I don't know, maybe that is natural in me, that instinct to be the best you can and be very powerful. And I never, ever looked at myself like, you're a woman, you can't compete against the man. I always put myself on their level. So I always had to try harder, a little bit more than they did to be accepted and to excel.
it shows. So when did you get into the Kung Fu?
Well, then I was a black belt in Tung Sido, and I was at a tournament and I met one of our students there that was a black belt as well. And he was doing Kung Fu. And I was like, what are you doing? And he's doing these low stances and these tiger moves. And I was like, I love that. So I wanted to learn it. So I went to the Kung Fu school. I said, I'm black belt in Tung Sido. I'd like to learn. And they said, yeah, sure. Well, then my Tung Su instructor found out and he said, you can't do both. You got to pick one or the other. And he gave me that choice, which was very hard because, you know, I love the Tung Sido, but I wanted to learn weapons. I wanted to move I felt my body was really suited for Kung Fu. So I chose to leave the Tung Sido school to go to learn the Kung Fu.
I think it was a great decision. That stood you in stead for the Hong Kong movies. But also, I think Kung Fu, it's lovely watching Kung Fu performed by a lady as well.
Well, but I'll tell you what, though, I mean, I love Tung Sido, and if it wasn't for Tung Sido, I wouldn't be as good in the Kung Fu because I was in a style where I had to be very strong, and I got my basis for kicking from Tung Sido. If I would have started in the Kung Fu, I might not be the kicker that I am today. Right. So I attribute that to my Tung Su training. And I remember I was studying with Roger Tung Kung Fu and I was doing Wushu. And he's going, you're doing that too hard. And I'm like, but it doesn't work for me if I go lightly. I have to feel it. You know, I have to feel that whatever I do is an effective movement. And then we competed in a competition together and I beat him, you know, and then he was even really mad because he was like, you're putting too much power in that. And I'm like, that doesn't equate in my mind. I have to put power in punches. I have to put power in kicks or otherwise it doesn't make sense to me, you know? So I think I had that advantage of putting that extra power into maybe some of the movements where people might have done it a little faster, a little fluid. I would do it fast, fluid, but strong.
I think that's the explosiveness that I was talking about that really shows in your film work. You've got a real like aggression to your movements and power. It's brilliant. Do you still train now?
I still do. Yeah, I still do. I'm actually learning Chen Tai Chi, which I like because I wanted to do a Tai Chi style, but I wanted a hard style because see, I'm about strength and speed and power. And the Chen has a combination of hard, external and internal. So you get the that the best of both worlds. But I think as a martial artist, you never stop learning. You know, you never do. If that's your life, and you know, there's so much out there to learn, and I love knowledge, so I will like keep learning until the day I die.
So how did the whole Hong Kong movie thing come about then? Because as far as I'm aware, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, that your first film was a Hong Kong movie. Yes, Madame, was it, with Michelle
Yes.
Yeoh?
Yes. I was on the West Coast demonstration team, and at that time they were known as to have, you know, the most phenomenal martial artists. And Paul Maslick, who was the editor of Inside Kung Fu magazine, called Ernie Reyes, and he said, you know, there's some Hong Kong people here looking for a guy. They're looking for a guy to be the next Bruce Lee. And can you bring some of your guys down to audition? And he said, yeah, I can. He said, what about the women? And he went, well, you know, they're looking for a guy, but yeah, bring them down. So we went down. It was at Heel Cho's studio in Beverly Hills, and Yun Kuei was there. He was the guy that was doing the casting, who I didn't know who he was at that time. But he said to me, do some forms. I did that. Then he had me free spar with someone. Then I did some weapons, and I also did some self-defense, because we used to do on the West Coast demonstration team a lot of self-defense. And Corey Yoon went back to MC Yoon, because it was with Seasonal Films, and he said, I want the girl. I want the girl instead of a guy. So they signed me up.
As easy as that, right? You didn't know what you'd got yourself into, did you?
I didn't, you know, I had no idea. All I know is I seen Kung Fu movies in Chinatown, and I thought, I'm going to go over there and they're going to dress me as a Chinese girl. I'm going to have long black braids. I'm going to have razor blades in my braids, and I'm going to be twirling my head around fighting. And when I got there, they're like, no, you're playing Cindy, a cop from England. And I was like, oh, I mean, I have regular clothes on, because I've never
From
seen a
England.
Hong Kong movie that wasn't like a period film, you know? So they're like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. And I thought it would be one movie. I thought, you know, how cool is this? I'm going to be in a movie. And you know, the strange thing that went through my head is that someday I'll have a child and I could say, hey, your mom was in a movie. You know, that's what was in my head.
So you never had any aspirations before that to get into the film business? This was just, it all came and it just took
Well,
off.
you know, at that time, my focus was on competing. I wanted to be 5 years undefeated. And when I say 5 years, right, we're talking about at least 30 times a year competing.
So this
So
is Forms, world Forms
Forms,
champion,
yeah,
undefeated.
Forms champion. And I wanted to be 5 years undefeated. Well, when I went to Hong Kong, it was my 5th year, right? And I was like, oh my God. I was like telling Corey Yoon, I said, I have to go back to Minneapolis and compete in this tournament. And I have to go back and compete here, because I won't be number one for 5 years. And that's been my goal for the past 5 years. So he said, okay. So I would go back, compete, come back to Hong Kong and train. And then I was 5 years undefeated. And it was at the same time I was doing Yes, Madam. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? Because my whole life was about competing, you know, and teaching at a school. And then Yes, Madam became very successful. And then I got a contract to do 3 more pictures with Golden Harvest. So I was like, oh, that's it. That's my path, to go from competition to movies. So then at that time I said, I like this. I want to do movies now.
一陣就會喺法庭見嘅啦。咁早嚟被告屋企做乜嘢啊？夏令證，你做咗咩説話好講？
Obviously, the films are dubbed, right? They're shoot without sound in those days. Tell us about the acting experience before we get into the fights.
Well, you know, I had no idea what to expect. And we're doing our first scene in Yes, Madam, and it's the scene in the airport. It's a pretty big fight scene. And I just remember people saying, you know what, just watch your lines, because, you know, at that it was known that you would talk and your mouth would keep moving, and then there'd be some weird dubbing in, and they said try to match the syllables to it. So they wanted me to speak Chinese, right? I didn't even know at this point they didn't have sound. They wanted me to speak Chinese, and now I'm thinking, oh my God, let alone remembering the English lines, I got to remember Chinese. And I remember they gave me this line. It was like something like yet thing hum something, and then it went on. And I remember I was there and I was going yet thing humma 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 humma. I just kept saying humma 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 because I was nervous. I forgot the Chinese, right? And then they're like, that's good. And I'm like, well, wait a minute.
Like, that's brilliant. We love it.
I just kept saying humma humma humma, and they're like, oh, that's okay. We don't shoot with sound. And I was like, oh my God. All right. And Yeah, so that was my first experience. But I think they thought I was a little crazy because I'd go, well, tell me what I'm saying and let me put it in English in that amount of syllable. And I think they did it just to humor me, because they never had a script. They never knew what anybody was going to say anyway. You know, I always found that shooting the first movie in Hong Kong prepared me for anything else in the world, because I thought that's how it is. You don't have a script. You just get your lines, right? The fighting is you hit as hard as you can, and the more you get hurt, the more they love it. So I was like thinking, that's what movies are about. Okay, I'm game. Yeah, this is the ending scene. This took 1 month to shoot. I was fighting Dick Wei, and during this scene, he hit me in the ear and split my external ear open. My ear was bleeding, one of the most dangerous injuries I occurred. But on this scene here, you'll see I was fighting these guys, and one guy turned around and hit me in the nose. My nose swelled up. Tears were coming out of my eyes, and Yun Kuei came over to me and says, "Oh, your nose looks better. Don't worry about it." And here, this was an awesome scene here. I still look at it and remember, especially like when I did this cartwheel on the wall.
Well, how did they get you up on the wall with a wire there? They're holding you with a wire.
Yeah, here's the interesting thing, is there's a little ledge on the step. You see where my foot is? And they put that there, and I did the aerial cartwheel, and then my foot just hit the wall, and then I came down. Now, you put my foot on that little edge. My other foot right here was hanging over my head. They drilled 2 little holes in the wall, and they had a wire around my waist. So when they said action, I kicked my leg into the split. They pulled my waist back against the wall, so I was stuck on the wall in the split. So they were getting ready for the next shot, and here I am thinking, hey, I am like the toughest person there is. They said, "Do you want to come down?" And I'm going, "No, I could just stay up here on the split till you're ready." Well, I was up there for about 45 minutes or so, and I couldn't walk for 3 days. My legs were so sore because I was trying to be like, I was just trying to be as tough as I can and not complain and not cry when I got hurt, but that scene was awesome. I think out of all the fighting scenes I do, this one was so complicated because it was my first one, and I'm fighting like 8 different guys with weapons all at me, and I was getting hit, and you got to remember your moves, and it was pretty complicated.
Were you there for him going through the glass? Is that you in the background there?
Yeah, that's me.
So when that guy's setting up to do that, are you thinking, "Oh, what's going to happen here then?"
You know what? I just, at this point, this was the ending of the movie.
Oh, so you've seen a lot by this point.
Yeah, I was like, I would expect anything. I mean, I had so many bruises, and like I said, Dick Wei kicked me in the head with a kick, and blood started coming out of my ear, and I felt like I was going to pass out. That's the first time in my life, like, where you see stars, in the cartoons, you hear the birds. I went down, and blood was coming out of my ear, and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to die, because I've seen movies when blood comes out of your ear, everybody dies.
Yeah.
So they sent me to the hospital, and the doctor looked at it and he said, "Oh, he kicked you so hard, he split your internal ear open, and there's nothing I could do about it. I can't stitch it. I can't go in." So Steve says, "Okay, go back to the set." So I go back to the set, blood coming out of my face, and continue the fight scene. I'm going, okay, this is Hong Kong. This is what you do.
Were you there when the guy did this stunt?
Yes, I was.
What did you think about that?
This was crazy. He got hurt on this one.
Was there anything on the floor that he landed in, or was it?
Yes, what they do is they had, I don't know what the floor was made out of, but whatever it was made out of, they put a pad underneath it, right? A small pad. So when he hits and comes down, yeah, he got hurt. I remember.
I don't know what he's thinking there, because like if he'd put his hands over his head, he might have been able to land on his front, but was he told you must land on your head?
No, I think he was not told that. I think it was just, this is how he went down.
How badly hurt was he?
He went to the hospital. I think he was okay after that. But I remember when we were shooting Blonde Fury or Lady Reporters, they have different names, that one of the guys got paralyzed from doing a fight scene on the rope.
Oh man, yeah, terrible.
And Dick Wei here, when I fought him, right? Oh, everybody was warning me about him, how hard he fights and how he hurts everybody. He's the one that kicked me in the head, and I got and
Yeah,
I
but
didn't like
we
that
thought you
one.
might have
I
took
was
it
like,
easy on the
he
ladies.
kicked me in the groin, right? And that
Yeah.
hurt. And I was like, oh my God, it hurts girls too. I thought it was just hurts guys, the groin. And I remember saying, well, wait a minute, isn't that kind of weird to kick me in the groin, because I'm a girl. And they're like, no. It's like, oh, okay.
I mean, as a man, I just imagine, yeah, that probably would hurt as well, but maybe not as much.
Well, yes, it did. And they didn't give me a pad or anything for there.
Yeah, Dick Way doesn't mess about.
And I remember Yoon Quay, I do that kick here that I developed. I remember Yoon Quay
Did you
said,
develop that kick then? Did you say to them, I could do this?
yes, he said to me, are there any moves that you like that you want to do? And I said, yes. I said, I do this move here where someone gets me in a headlock and I kick him over the head. And then he said, let me see it. He's like, great. And you can see I smacked that guy right in the face.
That's not Dick Way, is it? Is that a stuntman?
Oh, yeah, that's a stuntman. Yeah, Dick Way wouldn't have taken that hit to the face.
So listen, you've kicked me in the groin. Now I'm going to do a scorpion kick on your face, mate. Well, was there any point where you thought maybe I should just say, look, I'm not going to do this anymore. You can't be kicking me in the head. I didn't sign up for this. Or did you just get on with it? Did you complain?
No, I never complained. And I think that's why they liked working with me, because I didn't complain. Because like I said, it's like I'm in my mind, I'm tough. I'm not the girly girl. I can handle this. I can do this. And
somebody like me, growing up, wanting to get into martial arts films and hearing all the stories about the Hong Kong movies, when I went over and did a Hong Kong movie, I was mentally prepared. I knew what I was getting myself into, but you didn't really necessarily know, right?
I didn't, and to me, I was like, that's just how action movie is, And as I did movie after movie after movie, the stunts started getting harder and harder and harder, and I would be so bruised. I mean, I think when I did Blonde Fury, I got hurt really bad there. And I did these in righting wrongs. I did stunts that I could have actually died, that a stunt person would have a hard time doing. And I kept thinking they're getting harder and harder. And I'd go, oh, maybe this is my last Hong Kong movie. And then I'd heal and I'd feel good. And I'd watch the movie and I'd go, when's the next one? When's the next one? So I went from, I'm going to get killed to when's the next movie?
I had a 10-year break from doing Hong Kong movies. I started in the beginning and then I was in America and then I went back and I did Wolf Warrior and recently Ip Man. But I remember going back thinking, why am I doing this again? This is too difficult.
But you know what? When I came to America and I started doing movies, it was like I was in a party. I didn't have to wear pads. I could just kick and punch. And I remember when I did my first movie, Martial Law, I was fighting and the stuntmen were going, you don't have to hit so hard. And I'm going, oh, I'm sorry. Because I just remember Yoon Quay always saying to me, Cindy, harder, 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 right? And they're like, no, you don't even have to touch. And they weren't even touching me. And I'd go, no, I'd like you to touch me lightly because that way I can react better, And
it does look better. It does look better when you hit them, especially in the body.
Yeah, and I was like, the things I hated in like Blonde Fury, I had to come around a corner and they hit me in the face with a stick, and I couldn't flinch. Yoon Quay's going, if you flinch or you look like you're anticipating it, we have to shoot it again, So I had to look around that corner. No, I was going to get hit in the face,
Well, can I
I always said, if you did Hong Kong movies and you survived them and you love doing them, like you are one tough son of a gun and a crazy person as well.
Yeah, well, you're a bit crazy, Cynthia, because you did a fair few. So, there you go. How many weeks did you spend shooting Yes, Madam? And that end fight, how many days did they spend on it?
That was 1 month just on the end fight. The whole movie took 7.5 months to shoot.
7.5, and it was all in Hong Kong.
Yeah, that one was all in Hong Kong. And I thought it was going to be 4 months. But the reason for that is, okay, like, time isn't the essence. Like here in America, like, you're on a budget, you got to shoot. I mean, actors were doing other movies at the time and they'd go, okay, well, we got to wait for so-and-so to get off this movie, or, oh, so-and-so got hurt. We got to wait for them to heal. So there was a lot of period in between that 7.5 months where I wasn't shooting.
How old were you when you made that movie?
Oh, how old was I? I think I was my late 20s.
Oh, okay. Crazy. Seven
Yeah,
months shooting that. That's insane. And you kept coming back and forth, or majority was spent in Hong Kong?
I lived there for 3 years.
Oh, so
Shooting
you went out there and you stayed there?
I did, and uh, I didn't know what to expect. I remember being on the plane and going over there and thinking I was going to Hans Island, because all I
Yeah.
remember is Enter the Dragon, and I'm looking and I had no idea. I had no clue. I went by myself, I was in Hong Kong before training, but that was the only training. I didn't really see the city or anything, and it was such a weird experience for me. So I was training and I was doing jumping hook kicks and I landed and blew out my anterior crucial ligament.
Oh
So
no.
now, when I was doing Shanghai Express and Righting Wrongs that came right after that, I was doing it with like not even able to stand on my knee. It's really
Wow.
crazy.
So did you completely sever the ACL?
I did. Actually, after that, I never wanted to get it fixed because I was shooting movie after movie. And they said it'd be about a 5 to 6 month recuperation. So I
Yeah.
said, well, I could just kick on my other leg and I just won't jump on my right, And when I did Righting Wrongs, I had to reverse every choreography to my left leg. And I was like a right leg kicker. So I was thinking, oh, this is going to look like
You
crap.
good at spinning both ways?
Yeah, so I had to reverse everything on that. And then at one point I went in to get it fixed, and they said, you don't even have one. It's gone. It's gone. And they did a test on me, and they said, we want to see why you could still kick and do what you do without this, because most people wouldn't even be able to stand on their knee, right? There would be nothing holding the knee in. And I remember the orthopedist, he went in and he sewed these like electrodes in my leg. And I was like, you owe me. I said, if I ever get my knee fixed, you better fix it for free. Because he was sewing all these things in, and they'd go run and they'd go jump and do this. And it came back that my quads were so strong and my hamstrings that's what was holding my knee in place, where normally you wouldn't have any stability. It would just, buckle and go.
You are the blonde fury. That is insane. I tore my ACL, and luckily for me, I mean, I don't know, did you ever wear a knee brace for any of these films?
I did. I wore a brace on it,
Like a
but
proper
as you
one from the
know,
top of the thigh down to the calf? With
no, I didn't wear that one because I couldn't
No,
fit it under my clothes. I just had one of those little stretchy ones on.
that does nothing. I did a few films with a proper knee brace, but I did like half of a movie without it because I didn't know about it, and it was hard, very difficult. And then I got the knee brace, and it really helped because it acted as the ACL. My hamstrings clearly were not as strong as yours or quads. So let that be a lesson to you, all you people out there. Work on the hamstrings, not just the
Yeah,
quads. It's the
yeah.
hams, isn't it?
And I'll tell you the crazy thing is I still haven't fixed it. I still I do
Joking.
all this crazy extreme adventure and kicking and everything, and I still haven't fixed it because it's like, okay, I don't need to. I'll just, and like sometimes people will see me walk and they'll go, are you limping? And I go, no, I think that's just how I walk because of my knee.
Man, that's insane, Cynthia. That's
I
amazing
know.
to hear. Talk to me about working with Samo.
Now I'm shooting with Samo, and again, he's like Dick Way. Everybody was telling me how hard he fights, and they're trying to scare me. And I remember from my fighting days in competition, when people would try to scare me, say, "Oh, this woman's going to kill you," it actually would get my adrenaline going, and I would fight even stronger. But on this one here, it's funny because we were supposed to be in the military, and I had 3 shirts on and 3 pair of pants. And they said, well, you have to have that on because it's winter. And I'm like, oh, okay. Not even thinking, you don't see it. You don't see it. Why do I have to have this on? So it
Yeah.
was funny. It was like one of the lessons I learned quickly about movie filming. There's a scene here where I'm fighting Samo, but I think it was his stunt guy, right? And I'm trying to think where it is. I was doing a spinning wheel kick.
I know
And
this is it. I know, yeah. You come up now and you hit him, and you hit the guy very hard, right?
yes, I hit him really hard. And well, what happened is Samuel was up on the balcony and he was directing, and the guy kept coming in close. So I knew I was doing a spinning wheel kick, and that's a pretty powerful kick. You really can't control that. If I if I did where I was supposed to go, I'd hit him in the head. And I kept kicking over his head. And I told him, I said, don't come in. And Samo was up in the balcony screaming there. I think that's it right there. That right there. So he was doubling Samo, right? And about 4 times I kept going over his head, and Samo kept yelling at me saying, kick. And so I said to the guy, I said, I'm going to do this kick. And I did it really slow. I said, this is where my foot is. If you come in, I'm going to hit you. Because now I'm getting all stressed out because Samo's yelling at me. It's only my second movie. So I did the kick. I hit him. Boom. Knocked him out. He had blood coming out right of his face. And now I'm feeling so bad. I'm going, oh my God. I'm so sorry. And when the stuntmen come up and they bring over the translator and they go, oh, don't feel so bad. That's the guy that hit you in the nose with the sword and yes, madam.
Did that cheer you up?
No, I felt bad. I felt really bad. But that's the thing about when you're doing stunts, you have to know how to judge your distance.
But let me tell you, it's a beautiful shot. I absolutely love it. Did Samo like it?
Well, it was his double, so he loved it.
I know. So he was directing it, and it wasn't him. So he was very happy that it looked as good as it did because he
did. He loved it. He goes, yes, good. All right, move on.
Accidents do happen, but man, that looks great. What can I say? Well, they make things up on the spot, don't they, over there? It's not really, nothing is prepared or thought out, rehearsed and everything. It's just, okay, I've got an idea. Today we're doing this. Let's get it together. And maybe things haven't been thought through as good as they could have been. Now, there's a lot of ingenuity that can come from that. And great things can happen. But also it feels like there's lots of time wasted. And
yeah, well, that's why they take so long to shoot. And it's also very difficult, to come from Hong Kong, which made it easier for me shooting other movies, is that you would see those movements. There's a lot of them. There might be like 50 movements where you're nonstop. There's no cuts, and you have to remember that and not get hurt. And it's difficult. It's really probably one of the hardest things, I think, is because they don't give you a lot of time to practice. They just show it to you and then you're ready to go shoot it, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, what was that 29th move I was supposed to do? And you just have to let your body, for me anyway, naturally just react to what everybody was doing.
Yeah, for those people that don't understand, on an American movie, you'll probably be rehearsing the fights, right? And you'll know what you're going to do before the day you do it, so you can have it down with your partner. But on this, you are shown, okay, 8 moves, 10 moves, 12 moves for this camera angle. This is what it is. Watch the stunt guy do it. Now you're doing it, and maybe you run it through a few times, 3, 4, and then bang, you're doing it full speed, aren't you?
Yeah.
Trying to get your head knocked off.
Yeah. And that's why you get hit a lot too. And then you get hit, whatever, it fits. It looks like it works. It looks like it's real. You just keep going on, and the number one rule is you can't stop, even if you get hurt, you can't go, oh, cut, you have to just bear with it and continue and keep the scene going.
If you get hit or you hit someone, the cardinal sin would be to say, oh, sorry, you've got to keep going, right? Because otherwise you can't use it.
Yep.
Cynthia's got her own YouTube channel, which everyone needs to check out. It's got great stuff on there, Q&As, all sorts of stuff. Right, Cynthia?
Yes, I do. So it's Cynthia Rothrock channel. So I couldn't do Cynthia Rothrock because someone already took it on me. Oh. So it's Cynthia Rothrock channel.
I hope that person feels guilty.
I tried to get it back, there's like one time someone said there's 100 Cynthia Rothrocks on Facebook and they're like, I can't find you. And I looked and most of them were fans of mine from Africa. Every woman there was like Cynthia Rothrock. And I was like looking at them going, oh no, that's just a picture of a big butt. That's not me, everybody. There's crazy stuff out there.
Yeah, I've got a few big butt profile pictures of Scott Adkins, but they're not me either.
Yeah. Yeah, Magic Crystal was our second film together. It was interesting here because Richard is not a Kung Fu stylist, and they were trying to get him to do like some Kung Fu moves. And I just remember him not getting like the flowery hand movements that we have to do. But I love fighting with Richard because we always knew that the fights were going to be strong, and when you're fighting like hard movements, it's good to trust your person. But right here, I'm using the sword. Okay, this is the move he had a really hard time with. He could not get this. Well, I think
I think he does a good job of it.
Yes, he does.
He
did it probably about 100 times. But during this scene right here where we're fighting, again, in Hong Kong, there's no union rule. So you could just keep fighting. And we were shooting way over 24 hours on this one. And I accidentally hit Richard in the head with my sword. And he had to go to the hospital, and he had quite a few stitches. So he still has that. Now this is the double, because Richard was in the hospital getting his head stitched up.
So just so everyone knows, Richard would have done that spin with the splits himself, but he was in hospital getting his head stitched.
That's right. He was doing it before that. But it's because we were so tired, and when you're doing weapons like that and you're going so fast, it's easy to have injuries on that. But he'll never forget me for his whole life, because he's got a little Cynthia Rothrock on here. But he got back at me many times, hitting me a little hard than he should have.
Well, it's amazing how many films you've done together. I mean, you wouldn't have known it back when you did Millionaires Express, but how many did you do together so far?
I don't know how many. I think I said we probably did about 10, and it started actually at that time. Everybody was like, hey, if you have Cynthia and Richard together, you're going to have a successful movie. So we were doing a lot. We did the China O'Briens. And I remember they used to call us the Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire of martial arts. I was like, I'll take that. That's kind of a cool. I was actually supposed to be in Armour of God with Jackie Chan, but he got hurt. So Golden Harvest said, okay, we're going to put you in this movie with Yuen Biao.
So you're meant to be one of the Amazon women.
Yes, I was supposed to be actually the main Amazon person. I think my friend Linda Denley played the part. That was supposed to be me. And I was all excited because I grew up with Jackie Chan, and I was like, oh my God, Jackie Chan. And he got hurt, and he stopped shooting maybe for a good year.
Oh, because of the head injury, yeah?
With the head injury. And so Golden Harvest said, okay, we're going to put you at Yuen Biao. Yeah, so this is where I really had to switch everything to every choreography they gave me, I had to switch it to my other side.
Was it your right knee that was injured, or your left?
It was my right knee. Yeah, so
better to kick with the bad knee than to stand on it.
I still did things with it, but it hurt like heck while I was doing this. And the stunts in here were crazy. Again, right, like this here, I remember doing that, landing on that, going, ouch. But I tell you, Yuen Biao and I fought so well together. Sometimes it's hard to catch someone's timing. Or they're not as fluid, or they're stiff, or you are, or whatever. But him and I our fighting just synced right in so well, and it was awesome. I mean, some of the things he did blew me away. Yeah, see, like those kicking things, like I was like, right. But it came out okay. I was thinking, oh my God, that's not going to be so good.
I'm surprised to hear it. You would not have known it at all.
I know, and I was surprised too. I was like, oh, that didn't look bad, He got hurt. He got hurt on this scene here.
With the jump.
Yes, when he jumps off here, and he did it in one shot. And I remember they again, there was grass on the bottom. They took the grass out and put a little pad, one of those little training mats that you go on. They put that underneath it. I think you'll see him right here. That's him. It's not a stunt person. And when he landed, you could see the grass move a little bit.
Yeah.
That was like the pad under it. But he hurt his back doing that scene.
He hurt his back, from bouncing there hard?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did he practice with a bigger mat that he was jumping on, or did he just go for it?
No, he just went for it.
Just went for it. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, isn't it?
Well, I had to do one of those jumps, and I landed on mattresses and boxes, and whew, I think that was in Blonde Fury. That was a really tough one for me to do. See,
So how was this? Is this lady's name Karen Shepherd?
Yes, this is Karen Shepherd. This is actually, they say like it's like one of the better fight scenes with women, I mean, especially when we get into the weapons. And right there, like that, I love that scene right there. That was like a great move that they choreographed.
Was there a bit of competitiveness going on here, or were you all friendly?
No, actually we weren't, because
I think I've heard this, to see. I'm trying to get it out of you. I heard that something had happened.
Yeah, because Karen was number one in forums, and I came along and beat her number one. So me, here I am coming, going, hey, hi, and I remember she was with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend, she said, this is Cynthia, and he goes, oh, so this is it. And I went, oh my God, it? You called me an it? I was like, so then I thought, you know what, and then she just was not nice to me. So I thought, you know what, whatever, I don't need to talk to you or deal with you. I just go on in my own little world. And then Corey Yoon called me. I was in America, and we're getting ready to shoot this. And he said, I want you to fight someone with a steel whip. And I knew Karen did the steel whip. And I'm the one that recommended her for it, right? And that's how she got the job. So because I was just thinking, all right, I don't think she probably would have got me the job, but I don't hold those kind of grudges. I just thought she'll be the best for the movie. Yeah. And when we were doing this, she couldn't get a scene. Karen said to Yoon Kwei, she said, well, I have my image upkeep. I can't be killed. Cynthia can't kill me because that would be bad for my image, right? Me killing her. And she couldn't kill the boy. She was supposed to kill the boy. So Corey Yoon said, oh yeah, okay. So then we're on the set and everybody knew this, and we're fighting, and then all of a sudden she runs away and she thinks that's the end of the scene.
Yeah.
And Corey Yoon then gets the stunt guy, and we finish the fight scene, and I end up kicking her off the balcony. And I always thought, oh my God, I wonder what she thought of when she saw that. And then they did a intake of her slitting the boy's throat, right? But she never said anything about it. And I think after she saw the whole movie, she was okay with it, because it showed her as a good fighter. So,
well, sometimes it's good to have a good bit of healthy competitiveness with someone, and it made for a great fight. So, Now then, let me tell you, No Retreat, No Surrender 2. I love that film so much. I love those films. I mean, but that one in particular, got a soft spot for it. Talk to me about, so this was Yoon Kwei again, and it was more geared towards the Western market?
An interesting story there. When I'm fighting in the ring, this is shot in Thailand, and they didn't want me to fight in the ring because I was a woman. They said, no, women can't be in the ring. So we said, all right, we're going to do this.
In Thailand, they didn't.
This is in Thailand, right? So we practiced it outside on the floor. We were going to do it on the floor. Well, then they saw what I could fight, and they said, oh my God, this girl can really fight. So they said, all right, well, when she gets into the ring, though, she can't come through the ring. You know how you open the ropes and people come through?
Yeah.
Because I was a woman, I had to roll underneath it. So when you see in the beginning of the scene, to get in, I'm rolling underneath the ropes because they wouldn't let me go through them.
Well, it looks like you're not holding back on this geezer. How is it working with the great Hwang Jang-lee?
Oh my God, Hwang Jang-lee, he's one of the really hard fighters. You know what I mean? And it was a little more difficult because he was so strong, and I was a little like fast and fluid. So it was a little harder for me to work with him. But I remember, like, I had a pad on my chest, and I was like, kick the pad, and he kicked me in the boobs, and I was like, oh my God, the pad is like right here.
So he was a hard hitter, was he?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know who he was at the time. For the whole time, I thought he was Chinese because I've seen him in the Chinese movie, and he was like the white fox, you know. And when I was testing for my 7th degree in Tongsudo in Korea, he was sitting on the board, and I'm thinking, oh my God, what is Hwang Jang-lee doing on a Tongsudo board? He goes, no, I've always been Tongsudo. But he was really tough, and I think the thing that Karen and I had going on a little bit. In Shanghai Express, Richard and Hwang Jang-lee had a little of that going on. Richard
and Hwang Jang-lee?
Yeah, because I remember it was funny because like Hwang Jang-lee was like, I can do this, and Richard's like, well, I can do that. And I remember Richard saying, so can you get up and do a jumping spinning kick and do a back kick and then land in a horse stance. Yeah, I could do that. It was like they were just going back and forth. It was like really, really funny. But he's really, really a hard fighter, tough fighter.
Yeah. Now, did you have any sort of reservations about taking a role that maybe wasn't the lead at this point, or you're not bothered about that? What was your
No,
thinking?
I was never bothered by that. You know, I never really, you know, thought about it. And it was funny because when I was going to do that, you know, Jean-Claude Van Damme and Kurt McKinney were supposed to play that part.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And when I got to Thailand, I thought Kurt McKinney and Jean-Claude was going to do it. So did Yoon Quay. Yoon Quay didn't even know that they backed out at the last minute. And Lauren, he was at his karate school, and they called and they said, he answered the phone and they said, oh, we need someone that could do martial arts really good and be on a plane to Thailand tomorrow. And Lauren was like, yeah, I can. So he was like so lucky he answered the phone, who was a phenomenal martial artist. Lauren's great. So when we went there, Corey Yoon introduced him to me as his character's name, and I thought he was Kurt McKinney. And I remember looking at him going, oh, how could someone look so different on film and in person?
He's taller than he looks in the first one.
I know, it's a total different look. And I thought it was Kurt McKinney because nobody ever told me that those two weren't doing it.
Well, can I ask you, I mean, if Van Damme and Kurt McKinney did this, if they did it, how was that going to work in terms of, so Van Damme has become a warlord in Thailand, and was it a different story or what?
Kurt McKinney was supposed to play the Lauren Avedon part, and Jean-Claude was supposed to play Matthias Yu's part, the bad guy.
The Ivan Krasinski is who he is in No Truth, No Surrender 1. He's gone off to Thailand to become a warlord in between 1 and 2. And Kurt McKinney's just still the same sort of fun-loving guy.
Thailand, it doesn't matter. Hong Kong.
I've always wondered.
That doesn't matter. It doesn't have to match.
Okay, then. All right. I'm just trying to figure it all out in my small little brain.
What happened is they already started shooting the movie. It wasn't looking so good. So they said, let's bring Cynthia in, put her in a part, and then it'll be a little more successful. So they did. And I come in like as the trainer for the women.
So yeah, he just breaks out the monkey kung fu. And what style are you using?
Wait a minute. What movie is this?
I'm forgetting the name of it. Sorry.
I don't know which one it is. I'm just looking. Oh, look that's a lovely picture of me on that freeze frame there. Oh, wait, I don't think that's me. I don't know. That looks like that hairstyle, right? Oh my God.
This is the one with Sibel Hugh, is it?
Yes, this is Inspectors Wear Skirts. So this one, I would say, was after the Blonde Fury. It might have been around the same time because I could tell by the hairstyle, because when I started the Blonde Fury, my hair was like this. And then I went back to shoot China O'Brien, and then they brought in Corey Yoon to shoot some more scenes. So then my hair keeps changing throughout the movie. But it looks like this when it's Mong Hoi directing, and then when Corey Yoon is directing, it's a lighter shade of blonde and longer. And I was like, well, can't you tell that? And they're like, no worry, nobody will know.
What do you prefer doing fight scenes with fist fights, you know, hand to hand, or do you prefer to use the weapons? What's more fun for you?
Weapons, absolutely. I love weapons. Yeah.
Do you think it's a bit easier because it's an extension and it's not as up close and personal, bone on bone, skin on skin? Or
I wouldn't say it's easier because you have to be more proficient with your movements. Because if you hit someone with the weapon, you're going to hurt them a lot worse than doing it with your hands, you know, especially you're fighting against the whip, or, you're fighting with hook swords or swords, because, I had that accident with Richard Norton. I think it's a little harder, but you don't see traditional Chinese weapons so much in movies, and that's why I like to do it. This was a very hard scene. This is where one of the stuntmen, actually 2 stuntmen got hurt on this scene. I thought, we're going to be bouncing on these ropes. It's going to be really soft, but it wasn't. I had to put pads on my hips because it was like rope burn, and it hurt so bad when you bounced off them. It wasn't really soft, and it was actually dangerous because one of the stuntmen got his leg stuck in one of the ropes and broke his leg, and then you see the top of it up there. something broke and a stuntman fell down onto the truck that was on top of that. And he got paralyzed. He was paralyzed for life. So this was a very hard scene to shoot. But it's, again, I love it, you know, because it's so hard and difficult. And I remember I said to Yun Kuei, because they keep kicking me over and over and over again, you know, and I'm like, when do I get to hit back? You know.
Was Yun Kuei the action director or the director?
Yun Kuei came in and directed this part. Mang Hoi directed most of it, and then they wanted more. They wanted Yun Kuei to put in more scenes, so he directed the longer parts. And
was this seasonal or Golden Harvest?
This one was Golden Harvest.
Yeah.
And a lot of wire work on here. And then there's a scene I fight with Vincent Lin, and we're fighting in a very narrow corridor. This was very hard. It was so narrow to fight. And I remember our legs kept getting stuck, like hitting it. I had to kick him in the groin, and Vincent put a cup on, and it still hurt. So you see, it was very hard. The choreography was so hard on this, and it looked so simple, but because of the narrow space. And they bring Vincent Lin a roll of toilet paper, and he's like, "What's this for?" And they're like, "Put it in your groin." Put it. They unwrapped the whole, stuck it in his groin to soften even the cup with because Yun Kuei wanted me to really kick him in the groin.
And in the face, by the looks of it.
Yeah, so they did. Yeah, we did that in there, and here, right there was like a kick to the groin and then to the face. Yeah, he was feeling that one. But I mean, like, it was brilliant choreography in such a small space with not that much to work with.
Were you aware at the time? You wouldn't have been, I suppose, but you've gone over there and you've done one film, you've not really thought about it, and now you've become this star in a completely foreign country. I mean, you're starring in movies for a Chinese audience, and you're, you know, a white girl from Pennsylvania. Did you ever think, wow, this is kind of strange?
No, I didn't.
I mean, it's still strange to me now to think about it.
I know. I mean, they gave me a Chinese name. My name was Rothrock, which is funny if you say it fast. Rothrock, it's like Rothrock, kind of. Oh, yeah. You know, I just fit in. It took me a year to adapt to the culture of Hong Kong, you know, and eating the food and stuff. Like at first, I was like looking for American restaurants, and then I just felt like I was one of them. And I know when we had foreigners come in to shoot, they always used me as a translator, and I couldn't speak Chinese, but I knew so much of the sign language of what they wanted and what they were saying that I developed this weird kind of feeling of what was going on without even speaking the language. So it was a very different experience for sure.
Well, for people like me, we've grown up watching the 80s, early 90s Hong Kong movies with reverence, because that is the golden era of martial arts filmmaking. I mean, it's when it was at its very best. Jackie and Sammo and everyone were trying to outdo each other, and the stunts were hardcore and everything was done in camera. And, you know, it's just incredible. And you were there in the thick of it, one of the leading actors of the whole scene. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. Do you ever look back at it and just think, wow?
I know, when I think about it now, I go, wow, you know, or I'll look at those fight scenes and I'll be all excited and go, oh, well, wait a minute, that's me, you know, because they're so complicated, and you really, they really can get you to do this stuff, like things that you thought I would never be able to do that. Like I would be like, I'd never be able to jump off that wall and do a spinning kick, you know, but they just the way they do it, you know, it just, they brought the best out of me that I could do. And I've realized then that, you know, I don't say no, I can't do that, that I'll keep trying and trying to do it, because so many times I would have said, you want me to do what? You want me to do what? You know, and I think that movie, The Blonde Fury, has been my hardest movies to do out of any of them. Every scene had a stunt in that I thought I was going to die, you know, that
you still did it anyway.
It was so crazy, you know, and I think at that point, that's when I was saying, oh, maybe I should do American movies or something like that. First American film, was China O'Brien, because Golden Harvest did Righting Wrongs, and I had 2 more picture deal, and they said, you want to do movies in America in English? And I was like, Yeah, yes, I do,
So
And I had
China
a
O'Brien was a
script.
Golden Harvest movie. I forgot that then.
Yeah, that
How
was
that
part
came
of the
about.
Golden Harvest, and Robert Klaus directed it, who directed Enter the Dragon.
When they said it's going to be Robert Klaus, director of Enter the Dragon, were you like, wow, that's cool?
Yeah, yeah, it was very cool. But his fighting style, like the way he shot it, was completely different than Hong Kong. And I remember for that they sent over a Hong Kong team, which I was glad, So I was working with some of the people that I worked with in Hong Kong, like doing the stunts and stuff like that.
In terms of having less time in America, and also perhaps it being an easier way of shooting, what were your feelings on, okay, maybe it's easier, but maybe we're not getting the same quality of fighting here? How did you feel about that?
Yeah, that's what we were saying because, in Hong Kong, they shoot it so many times and they go in for so many inserts. And Robert Klaus was like, no, I shot Bruce Lee like this. This is how I want to shoot it. And he didn't want to go in for any like close-ups or, get the close-up of the foot hitting. It's just kind of long shots. So we were a little concerned. Oh, my God, I don't know how this is going to come out. But, it came out quite well. But I know he was like, I did Bruce Lee's like this. This is how I'm going to do it. We had two scripts. We had China O'Brien 1, China O'Brien 2. And Robert Klaus would go, okay, we're in the office for China O'Brien 1. And then he'd go, well, let's just do a scene from China O'Brien 2 since we're in the office. Because it was they shot both of them in 6 weeks. All
So
at
were the
once.
two shot at the same time?
Yes, and you'd be like, I didn't even look at the part on the script too. I'm just looking at one. He goes, oh, it doesn't matter. So we're like trying to remember our lines going, what the heck is that line? When you're in the office. I mean, can you imagine? It's like just getting your lines and go, okay, go shoot them. And you can't act, you can't think, all you're thinking in your mind is, what are my lines? What are my lines? I broke my finger on that set. So if you look closely at some of the scenes, you see I have a splint on because I had a splint on my finger.
Right. Oh, okay. All those Hong Kong movies, and it was China O'Brien.
Yeah, then I break my finger on it. Yeah, you know what? Like it's pretty simple fighting for me, like just basic kicking and punching and throwing. I'm not getting hit in the face. I'm not getting hit in the chest. I'm not, it's pretty easy fighting, which was still good. The Hong Kong people were putting in a little bit of Jackie Chan-ish, The funny thing about this scene here is we're shooting the ending scene in the bar, and they didn't have enough stunt people. So the stunt people would be fighting me. Then they'd put a mustache on. Then they'd be fighting Keith Cook. Then they'd put a hat on and they'd be fighting Richard Norton. So at the same time, the same guy is fighting all of us.
Well, this film was huge on VHS, wasn't it? I remember it coming out.
Yeah.
It was Blockbuster Video. You would have like a whole shelf from top to bottom, China O'Brien, you on there. I think that might have been the first time I ever saw you, to be honest. Can I just say, sorry, but this, I used to copy it all the time, and this is about the only thing I can do with the stuff.
I got that from Eagle Claw. That was a traditional Eagle Claw move where you pick up the double-headed spear with your foot like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, bringing in a little of my traditionalism to that. But yeah, China O'Brien was a big success. And while I was shooting China O'Brien, Richard Norton and I come in one night from the set, and I get this message. It's like 2 a.m. and it says, call William Friedkin. So the next morning I get up because it was 2 a.m. and I call and I'm like, is William Friedkin there? Because I thought someone was going to say, oh yeah, you fell for it. It was a joke, right? And it wasn't. It was William Friedkin. And he goes, oh yeah, I've directed The Exorcist and this and this. And I'm like, oh my God, right? And I'm like shaking. William Friedkin's on the phone. And he goes, Sylvester Stallone would like to meet you in LA. And we want to sign you up for a movie called The Executioner. And I'm like, oh my God. And he's like, when can you leave? And I'm like, well, I'm shooting China O'Brien and we shoot 6 days a week here. And he goes, well, on Sunday is my day off. So they flew me in and signed the contract. I was supposed to co-star with Sylvester Stallone in The Executioners. William Friedkin was directing it. The guys that wrote RoboCop, which was big at that time, were the scriptwriters. And they signed me up, and I went back shooting China O'Brien going, oh my God, I'm going to do a movie with Sylvester Stallone, right? And I was like, oh, heck. And I still didn't even really settle back in America because I went directly from Hong Kong to Utah. It was crazy, and it never went. William Friedkin didn't approve the script, and at that time we had pay or play. So I made more money than I've ever made on any movie, but never got to do it, which I would rather not make no money and have done the movie with Sylvester Stallone. Because then I thought, oh, my career would have been off in a different direction, you know, but that made me realize that no matter what, don't believe anything. Because I thought for sure, you know, I was going to be doing this movie. But it was crazy.
Shame, yeah. Well, you know, Expendables 4, get on the phone.
I know, right? I know. I'm like, I should have been in one. They had all the action stars from the 80s and 90s. They didn't have the woman. And I'm like, wait, what about me? What about me? You know, and so anyway, the reason I was telling you that story is because Golden Harvest wanted to do China O'Brien 3 and 4, and I wanted to do it. And they were offering a lot of money to do both. But when I signed up with to do the Stallone's movie, they put me up with Lou Pitt from ICM, big, gigantic agent. And he says, no, you can't do any more Hong Kong movies. And I was so sad because I wanted to. But then that's kind of why my career stopped in Hong Kong movies, is because I had this big team that never went anywhere with me and wouldn't let me do Hong Kong movies.
Why did they want you to do Hong Kong movies?
Because they were like saying, oh, you got to do bigger and better things. And you know.
But for me, they're the best. For me, they're the best.
I know, me too. And it's, you know what, today it's probably one of my most regrets that I didn't say I want to do it, because Lou Pitt never did anything for me, never sent me on an audition. I never did a movie, you know, and then after a couple of years, I was like.
I mean, these Hong Kong movies were probably getting theatrical releases in Asia, right?
Everywhere except America. You know,
so that doesn't make any sense. Lou Pitt, come on, mate. You messed up there.
I know, right? I know. And I was like, but you know, I still want to do another China O'Brien now, you know, and I have people interested to do it, but we're trying to find out who owns the rights to it, because we can't find it now. And I think it would be so much better, because so many people love that movie. And now, you know, I think your acting skills are a little better. You know, I could still fight just as good, look a little different, which is kind of good, you know, and what happened after this long period of time with China O'Brien. So I'm hoping that someday we could redo it, because I think there's, you know, so many people love that movie.
Out of your American movies, then, which would be your favorite?
I think Sworn to Justice, because it was a turning point for me acting-wise. I felt like I was giving parts that challenged me in the acting a little bit. I wasn't just like the same old, like the girl, you know, the girl next door, that's the tough kind of cop, but then the guy comes in and saves the day, you know, and you're doing that. I was doing that, like, because in America they were like, oh, I don't know about a woman being the lead, you know, at that time, you know, and I was like, okay, well, whatever. I just wanted to work. But Sworn to Justice was the first, they were putting me as the lead, and they were, you know, the part was hard. There were, like, I worked with Brad Dourif in it that, you know, I loved working with. And I like that movie, you know, as far as my American ones go. But I think the biggest movie I've ever done with the biggest budget was Irresistible Force. That was at that point, you know, like you got, because I don't know what the Hong Kong budgets were, but when I was doing them in America, they were like under $1 million, like maybe 800 to maybe 500,000 back then. And then Irresistible Force was like 2.5 million. And that was like, whoa.
Wow,
you know, for me, back in that day was a big budget for me.
Films you did in Hong Kong, the fights are off the hook. They're great. And then there's, you know, the American stuff is not as good, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so when you were making it, was there any part of you thinking, because sometimes if I'm working with people that clearly don't know how to do it the way it should be done, I mean, I'll take over now, but there's been times when I just think, I don't want to put this much physical effort into something that I know is not going to look as good as it could be. What was your philosophy for something like that? Did you just think, well, I'm getting paid, I'll get on with it? Well,
you know, I've done a couple movies that were horrible that I probably don't even like to say, because, you know, as an actor, you don't know, you just get hired. And I remember this one I did, I think it was called Honor and Glory. It was horrible. They paid me a lot of money, but then they didn't have money to pay anybody else. So nobody, they didn't get any actors. They got students and stuff. And it was like absolutely horrible. And you know, it's going to be horrible But, you know, it's at that time you're working and, you know, you do your best. And I remember Billy Drago was in Lady Dragon, and he did some really big budget movies. And he said, you know, whether I'm doing a small budget or a big budget, I still do my best. I've been very frustrated because they would sometimes get me people that couldn't fight. And no matter how
worst,
good
that's the worst, because it's harder to work with someone that doesn't know what they're doing. It makes you work harder.
Because you could do a great technique, and if they don't react right to it, I know when I was shooting the martial art kid, they had me fight this little kid that looked like he was 12. And I had to sidekick him in the body. I said, I can't do that. I'll break him in half. I said, let me do it to his face, right? So I do it to his face, and he wouldn't move. And I said, oh, this is not working. So we put a line in there. I said, go home to your mother.
Get out of here. Go home to your mother.
I said, because I can't beat up a little kid. His waist is like this, you know, and I said, I can't do it. And I was really, because, you know, when you go into these things, we're going to have I did a movie called Outside the Law. Oh, the ending is going to be great. We're going to spend a lot of time. The fighting is good. We shot it in Puerto Rico. They couldn't bring any stunt people in, so they just used local people, and which was fine, but they didn't have acting experience, and they didn't know how to react. And the ending fight scene turned into, we only have 20 minutes to shoot it. You know, that to me gets very depressing, because it's the fighting, and people don't understand that you don't have control on that, you know, and then they just look like, oh yeah, you suck. You know?
What do you think it is with American sort of B movies where they kind of don't give enough time to the action, yet they're making an action film? It's a bit weird, isn't it? Like, maybe you're making the movie in 6 weeks and the script is 90 pages. And the time will be given to the drama, but not to the action. Was it that way for some of the stuff that you worked on?
Oh yeah, I remember when I was doing Tiger Claws, right? I was like, "Where's the choreographer?" They're going, "Oh, well, you're a martial artist, you do it." And I was like, "What? No, that's not my job," you know. And that like sucked for me too, because now I had to teach everybody, and you know, some people didn't know what was going on, and you know, it was hard. That was one of the reasons I really wish I was back in Hong Kong shooting movies, you know, because the fight scenes weren't what I like. Now, some people don't like the Hong Kong action. They're, oh, it's too much, but it's like, to me, in a lot of the B movies in America, anybody could fight them. You could teach someone how to punch and kick, but to do all that crazy choreography, you know, it's hard. And I don't think necessarily a lot it's the skill. I think it's the time. They don't give you the time, you know.
It takes time to put the mosaic of different shots together to piece together a good fight sequence or action scene. Drama can be done quicker, because if you've got a good actor that's ready to deliver the dialogue, then you can film it wide, couple of other angles. You've done a 5-minute scene, but the action, it takes a lot longer, doesn't it? You can't just put a camera up there and fluff your way through a fight scene, because it's just not going to look like it's supposed to look. And you were spoilt with your time in Hong Kong, and know how difficult it was and how hard you worked, but you worked with the best people to ever do it. And you knew exactly how it should be done. So I'm sure it probably was frustrating sometimes.
Yeah, and it was challenging for me, you know, to do it. And I like to be challenged. I don't want to get on a film and do something that's so simple, like, you know, I could do in my sleep. I want to be challenged. I want to do those stunts. I want to do the crazy stuff, you know. But it's just time and you know, people that can do that, like especially on the small budget pictures, they don't have that budget, you know.
But having said that, I've pretty much watched all of your movies, especially growing up in the 90s. And I lapped it up and I loved it. I loved it. You know, some were better than others, but I pretty much universally just really enjoyed everything you did. Because honestly, in my opinion, you're the best female to ever do it. Okay.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That means a lot. That means a lot. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I love it. It's my life. I still want to do it. I still want to get out there and start kicking a lot of butt in film, you know, so, and I plan to until, like I said, you know, until I can't do it anymore, which I can't foresee that for a long time.
Well, you inspired me, Cynthia, and you're one of the reasons I'm doing it today. So just want to say, honestly, personally, thank you.
Well, thank you. You see how things turn around. Like, you were a big fan of mine, and now I'm a big fan of yours. So. Oh,
that's good to hear. So that's what I was fishing for.
You are the best. Oh, and maybe someday we'll work together.
Yeah, there you go. China O'Brien 3.
There you go.
Get it on. Cool. Okay, Cynthia, thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you. Thank you.